All right, you are now live with all of your fans, Corey.
Exciting.
This is exciting. What's really exciting is that you're now broadcasting on social media, which even though you do videos, yeah.
It's like the second time we did that one with Josh.
Oh, we did an Instagram live, yeah. So today we're talking about the difficult clients, right? is what we're going to talk through. Working for solving difficult client problems. Part of the reason that we are exceptional at this is because one of us may be a difficult client.
Correct.
Yes. All right. Well, where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, do we want to talk about like what we define as a difficult client so that everybody knows?
Let's do it.
Okay. So what's your definition for a difficult client?
I would say a difficult client is a client who can never make up their mind and is consistently changing direction. It's really hard to make progress if you have a client who is wavering all the time. So somebody who's difficult to pin down for me would be a difficult client. I don't mind clients who have high expectations, set high, have big demands. I don't mind that at all. But clients who are wavering on what they want and I would also say clients who don't understand the process but think they're experts. Like that drives me a little nuts, right? So for me, that's difficult. How about you? What's difficult for you?
I mean, all of those things, but also people who don't take direction well, and not that they get offended because they're being directed. They don't, kind of like what you said with the process, where they don't, for whatever reason, they can't figure out why you're asking them to do something, and so they just do it incorrectly. No matter how many times you explain it to them and how often you have to have that conversation. Just go out there, do X, Y, and Z, and come back. We can't move forward until you do these things. And they're like, okay, and then they come back with something that's completely unexpected or unhelpful.
Yeah. Well, what part of that do you think can be attributed to not having clear directions?
I mean, I think part of it can be, but it's also, I think that it's some people, they just kind of get that one track mind, and they're like, well, I know what you mean, so I'm going to go do this. And it's like, no, that's not what I meant. I'm going to explain it again using different words. And they still they can't grasp like the point of it. It's like, I need you to, like if we're doing a competitive analysis, like, like explaining like who their competitors are. And they're like, well, those aren't my competitors. Like, well, but they might be. Like anybody who could potentially steal business from you could be a competitor. So you still need to consider them, even if you don't think that they're a competitor.
Right. A lot of people miss the concept when it comes to competitive analysis of a direct competitor versus an indirect competitor, right? So if you're thinking like, Coca-Cola as an example, a direct competitor would be Pepsi. An indirect competitor would be water, right? Because that's an option for just quenching your thirst.
Yeah, water from your faucet.
Correct. Yes. So, okay. All right. So I think we're in alignment on what constitutes a difficult client for us. So when we encounter one, what do we do?
I mean, oftentimes we kind of enable it, which is bad. Like, okay, I'll just do it. Just get out of the way.
Well, yeah, sometimes it is easier to just do things ourselves. I would agree with that. But if our whole model is built on the concept of we want to fire ourselves, right? Like we want to teach our clients how to fish so that they don't have to hire us again, because we want them to be self-sufficient and earning as much revenue as they can and keeping as much of that as they can. We want them to keep their profits. So our goal, and I know a lot of people probably would look at us as being crazy. Our goal is we want long-term relationships, but we don't want to be working for somebody long-term. We want them to be able to do it themselves. Correct?
Yeah.
So sometimes it is easier to just do it ourselves, but then we're not really teaching them or we're not really helping them in the long run as much as we could be.
Sure. And I just kind of thought of something that we should probably do. And I don't know how we do, I don't know, figure out, talk to clients in terms of like how they learn, like how they follow directions. Like, for example, Julie, I'm going to use you as an example, but like, if we're doing something new or something that you're unfamiliar with, you need to see the whole process, like start to finish. You need to know where we're going.
Drives you nuts.
It does, because I can, like, if you're like, we're just going to go somewhere, like, all right, cool, let's go. We'll figure it out when we get there. But I mean, but that it's not saying that one way is better than the other. It's just saying that that's how you walk through processes. So if you were the client, it would, be like, okay, this is the end goal and this is what we're working on. But in the meantime, we're going to have to do X, Y, and Z to get there. Walk through the whole process, because that's how your brain kind of, processes information or whatever it is.
Yeah, I need to see the big picture. Like, I need to know what the end goal is and how things work in order to really be able to comfortably like sink into something. I'm not good with just, conceptually, this is what we're going to do. I'm like, why? Why are we doing that? It's hard for me. I don't learn that way. I'm also a reader. I will research the shit out of something.
Sure. But that's what I'm saying is, if we were, we need to work that into, I think, our onboarding process to just like figure out how people conceptualize, how they learn, how they follow directions, that type of stuff. So that we can say, all right, for one person, I can, one person we can just say, here's a task, go do it, and they'll go do it. Whereas others might need, well, why am I doing the task? Like, they might need some hand holding. They might not, whatever it is. And I think we need to figure that out.
Yeah. So I like that idea. We can add that to our client onboarding process. Let's talk a little bit about, I think, and before we move on, part of the reason that we should have that as part of our client onboarding process is because we're both very set in our ways for how we work with clients. And when a client needs something different, it kind of tips us off balance for a minute, where we're like, oh, okay, that's new. And we adjust, right? But there's that moment of disruption for us where we're like, well, that's not how we do things. But in many instances, it doesn't really matter how we do things. What matters is what the client needs and how they need things done.
Yeah, but I think when we've talked about this a bunch of times, like how we share information, whether it's, documents, images, it's all over the board. Everybody has a different process, and that's just confusing. And we need to be better about just saying, this is how it's going to be done. And here's instructions on how to do it if it's a problem. But telling people that, they don't have a choice.
100%. Otherwise, we end up having somebody email us 75 emails a day with giant attachments. And we're like, why can't you just put these on Google Drive?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about a little bit about what brought us to this conversation. We had a very elongated and painful, let's just call it an argument.
No, that's what it was.
It was an argument. And we don't really argue often, but we certainly did on Monday. Like, I almost quit you. I was like, I'm not, nope. And I'm sure you almost quit me too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. What happened?
I got some feedback on some social media posts. I happened to agree with the feedback, and I wanted to have a conversation with Stacy, who does our social media posts, to say, hey, I have like some ideas in a direction that we should go. Or do this, don't do that, whatever it is, because I realized I had never had that conversation with Stacy before, that she was just making things up the best that she could, but we didn't go through that strategy session like we would with any other client.
Right. And in this instance, you are the client, because this is social media for your restaurant that's going to be opening in January. So this is Cabo Richmond's social media. You are the client, but you are also a business owner for the business that does the social media.
Yeah.
So yes. So we made some assumptions. We did a disservice to Stacy in that we never sat down and had a client onboarding call with her on these are the things that Cabo likes. This is their brand voice. This is how they speak. This is their tone. These are things we don't do. This is, how we differentiate ourselves. None of those conversations happened.
Yeah.
Shame on us. Right. And then there were some posts that you did not like.
Yeah. And all I wanted to say was, hey, we should probably have that strategy. We should just have that talk.
Ooh, that's not what you said, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I said, I need to talk to Stacy because I don't like the direction of this post, or like personally, I wouldn't post that type of thing. I don't know exactly what was said, but it was not Stacy's doing a terrible job. It's, we got a little bit off direction. I just want to try and push it back in the right direction.
Right. And I did not receive that well.
You did not.
I did not.
I spent most of the time trying to figure out why you were upset, which then just frustrated me because I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, it's a very reasonable ask to say, hey, can I, as the client, have some input into what's being posted on social media?
Yes, you did play the client card. I'm the client, I believe was how that went.
Probably.
Yes. And to be clear, and we've moved way past this now, right? So this is no longer an issue for us, but it did take us a long time to get through it. I was frustrated, one, because I wasn't looking at you as the client, my mistake. But in this situation, easy to understand how it could happen. I was also frustrated because what I heard was somebody taking the feedback of one person and wanting to alter a strategy. Whether or not you agreed with the feedback, you didn't look at the surrounding data around, like, how are those posts doing? Like, yes, if one person doesn't like it, okay, but for the brand overall, if people are engaging with it, if other people like it, then do you really want to change the way we're posting based off of the fact that you don't like it? And you said, I do. I'm the owner. I get to decide. And I was like, okay. And I couldn't seem to get you to the point of grasping that we weren't just talking about a couple of posts. We were talking about a strategy. And that's where, we could not get aligned on that until we kind of took a step back and were able to look at it differently. But it was a really uncomfortable conversation. And you are the client. You were very difficult about it. I didn't handle it the best. I will fully acknowledge that. I did not. But it to me, and I kept saying, we were using another client as an example to say, if, let's just say Jim, if Jim came to us and said, don't ever use the color red in any of my posts again, I hate red, how that conversation would go would be, okay, let's take a look at the data. If we stop using red, like, look, we don't care. You can use any colors you want, but what we want you to understand is, here's how those posts actually play out. Here's how engagement goes when we use more red. And I know red, it's a ridiculous example, but it's an example nonetheless. And what we understand is, why do you want to stop using it all the time? And what it means to you if you do, what the data is going to tell us. And here's what we'll have to alter in the strategy, right? So that was my point, where I was trying to help you understand, it's not just as simple as, in some ways it's very simple. Stop posting about chicken tacos, right? Very simple. But there's, a million people who actually really like chicken tacos, but you hate them. So you're like, no, they're the dumbest of all tacos. We're not going to post them anymore. And just trying to help to get you to the point of understanding, I know you're the ideal customer, but you have chicken tacos on the menu. Do you not want to represent your whole menu? And
where we landed with that is, one, we're not open right now, so we can't provide pictures from our store. So
correct.
So we have to pull from other stores. And where it landed was, don't use this store, use this store, which is a part of the strategy, or should have been a part of the strategy that we never had that conversation.
Right.
If you're gonna pull pictures, pull it from this account.
Yes. So what we went through was not a great example of how to deal with or working with difficult clients, or how to solve a problem with a difficult client, because it took us a really long time to get there. But I think that had more to do with the fact that, there's not a clear, clean, there's not clear lines there, right? You're on both sides.
Well, and we cut corners. We didn't treat me
on this particular instance. Yes, we don't typically cut corners.
No. But on this particular instance, because it's like, oh well, we already kind of know the brand. Obviously, like there's so many reasons why we could potentially cut corners, but that's what happens when you cut corners.
Yeah,
you get a 3-hour argument on Monday.
Yeah, it was an emotionally debilitating meeting. Yes, I wanted to end my life for a couple of moments. It was that overwhelming. I was like, this is dumb. I can't. But I did. The end result was, one, we talked about we need to create some processes around onboarding clients for Certivium, to make sure that whether it's an existing client or a new client, we need to look at how we're doing that. We also knew we needed to talk about the escalation process, right? A process that we hadn't really thought about before, because we really hadn't had escalations inside of Certivium. So for those people who don't know, Certivium is a second business that we launched with a third partner, and we provide services for small business owners. And we have never had an escalation, even though we have clients. And so we literally learning on the fly, like, how do we handle escalations? And so we talked about that in our Certivium staff meeting yesterday on, we need a process, and escalations need to go to Stacy, the third partner. And if something needs to change in a strategy, then Stacy will either make that update or filter back to me and Corey.
Yeah. And we can sit down and plan all day long to, if this happens, if this happens, then that happens, whatever. But a lot of times you kind of have to figure things out as you go, because you really don't know. Like we need to have an escalation process, but we can't write one down without experiencing it. We can't, and even if we do, it's going to have to get changed as we come. Oh, we forgot about this, or that's unnecessary, or whatever it is. So, it's you kind of have that goal. You set some guardrails, and then hope that you have enough, you have enough knowledge of what's going on, so that you don't completely screw it up.
Right. And we also did to go back, and I reworked the marketing strategy and the social media management strategy specifically for Cabo, and asked you and Matt, your partner at Cabo, to take a look at it, to say, yeah, this is good, or this needs to change, so that we can then get it to Stacy, so that she is very clear on where those guardrails are, or who she shouldn't be sharing information from, or whatnot, right? So that it's more in alignment with where you want the brand voice of Cabo to be, which is ultimately what we're supposed to be doing, is making Certivium's whole goal is to make a business owner's life easier, right? We did not accomplish that on Monday.
Did the opposite of that.
Well, you right, but you have to decide: are you the business owner on the Cabo side or on the Certivium side? Because you can't play both roles at the same time.
Sure, I can.
Not in this particular instance.
As the boss of SB Pace, and as the boss of Cabo Fish Taco, I just need to go talk to Stacy. Problem solved.
Did you just say as the boss of SB Pace?
Yeah.
Erroneous. I think we both know who the brains behind this operation is.
No, we're clearly not. No, yeah.
It's you.
50-50.
Well, sure. Okay. So what sort of, based on our very excruciatingly painful conversation on Monday, where you were admittedly a very difficult client, correct?
Yeah, but I also think that you were being way too emotional.
That's possible.
And not emotional. You were taking it too personally.
Well, I take what we do at SB Pace and Certivium very personally. I want all of our clients to be successful, but I also want them to understand when they're in their own way. And that can be a challenge for clients. So you were a little in your own way on Monday.
I don't think I was, though.
Okay. Well, we're not going to rehash that again, but let's just talk about, like, let's give like quick, like, what's your top 3 takeaways that we can give to entrepreneurs and small business owners for when they have to deal with difficult clients? What are some things they should consider?
Well, for me, and this, don't take things personally. Like, like what we create websites or logos or whatever for clients. If they don't like it, it's not an attack on you. Maybe it's an attack on the process, or we didn't do a good.
Understood the question.
I
feel like you're giving advice to me.
Well, I am, but as a small business owner, like if you're dealing with a difficult client, like you have to remove the emotion from that conversation, because we just need to figure out what's wrong and how to fix it.
Not everybody's a robot, Corey.
Sure. But you can remove some emotion.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So remove emotion. Remove emotion. What else would you tell people?
I think the fact of just understanding how people consume information. Like I was talking at the beginning of this, that's important, so that when you're trying to explain something to a client, you don't run into problems where they're hearing one thing and doing something else.
Okay. So maybe that repeat back method.
Well, repeat back, but also, like I said, learn how they consume the information so you can give it to them in a way. Because, like, for instance, for a lot of the instructions that I send out to clients, it's just basically a Word document with an instruction and a picture and arrows and all that type of stuff. But we might need to include videos, and there might be an audio side to this that we need to consider as well.
Okay. Anything else? Any other?
No. What do you have?
I would say that if you focus on the relationship, right? So business to me is really more about relationships than anything else. Yes, there's financial transactions, but everything should be about the relationship and assuming good intent, right? So had I stopped for a minute on Monday, going back to using that as an example, to know that your intent was that you wanted to have the best possible marketing and social media for Cabo, and that you wanted Stacy to be successful, I probably could have, I would have fared a lot better. So assuming good intent, remembering that, business is about relationships, and that you never really know what kind of day someone else is having, right? So we have bad days, right? Everybody does. And sometimes a bad day might get taken out on you if you are, if you're the business owner, if you are the service provider, if you are, you have the store with the products and somebody walks in and, they're having a crap day, that might be coming your way. And so remembering that we don't know what someone else is going through. And so you just kind of have to take a step back and, offer a little compassion or empathy and grace, give grace. That would be what I would say, right? I probably could have used some grace on Monday, but I also could have, taken my own advice to really assume good intent. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any final words?
No. Just
how do you feel about your first LinkedIn Live and Facebook? You're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on YouTube Live.
That's great. My last piece of advice: if you're having a crappy day, don't take it out on your servers at a restaurant. It's not their fault you're having a crappy day.
Also, if you're having a crappy day, don't take it out on your service providers. I think, we're still here, Corey.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, this was great. And we will be doing another one in 2 weeks. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be something really important.
Excellent. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.